My name is Ilanit Appelfeld, and I'm an IP specialist. I'm based in Tel Aviv. I specialize in IP protection. I help companies protect their IP and increase their IP value. And the reason I'm doing this event today is because the best way to learn is from stories. And the story of NVIDIA and Valeo is the perfect case study for learning about IP protection. But before I tell you the story of NVIDIA and Valeo, let's talk about the biggest fear and the most common problem. Every founder or CTO fears a nightmare scenario that one of his team members will get up, fill their pockets with valuable IP, and take it straight to a competitor. And the most common problem is that managers don't think that there is a way to prevent this from happening. They don't have the tools, and basically they just don't want to deal with it. So let's talk about the story of NVIDIA, because there is a way to prevent this from happening. Let's call him Adam. Adam works for Valeo, a technology company specializing in parking systems. Adam leaves Valeo and joins NVIDIA. Later, while working for NVIDIA, the company wins a contract for parking systems. Valeo also wins part of that contract to supply hardware. So Valeo supplies the hardware and NVIDIA supplies the software. This means that the companies need to work together. Now, during a presentation, Adam, which is now in NVIDIA, presents to people from both NVIDIA and Valeo. And at the end of the presentation, Adam minimizes his screen, and everyone on the call can see an old Valeo document. The document has sensitive Valeo information, and the name of the document is Valeo Doc. This incident causes a big storm. Valeo takes legal action against NVIDIA, accusing NVIDIA of stealing their intellectual property and integrating it into their product. NVIDIA denies, claiming that they had no intention of stealing the code. And what can we learn from this story? So when Adam joins NVIDIA, he supposedly brings IP from his previous employer. And with him, he takes information that he had from Valeo. Now, the lesson here is don't let your new employees bring IP from their previous employers. So no matter who is right in this ongoing case, when a new employee brings IP from his previous employer, your IP may become contaminated. And this contamination happens because it creates legal exposure. It may even influence your innovation roadmap. It blurs the lines of ownership. And if you think about it, if we go back to Adam, it's his first day in NVIDIA. He comes from Valeo. He was exposed to very sensitive information. And the question is, was it made clear to him by NVIDIA that bringing new Valeo documents is unacceptable? The agreement obviously included such a clause, but did someone sit with him to explain that he couldn't bring new IP, older IP from previous employers? So if you're hiring, that's a lesson. Make sure the employment agreement includes a clause saying that bringing IP from previous or documents or proprietary data from your previous employer is strictly prohibited. And then, because people never read agreements, sit down with a new hire and explain how bringing any material from a previous employer is just off limits. So we spoke about what happens when someone comes to work in your company. And this brings us to the next lesson. What happens once the employee is already part of the company? And that's lesson number 2. 1 second. So lesson number 2, protecting your intellectual property during the employment. And this is often the most challenging phase of employment and IP protection, because when everyone is in the rush of development, nobody cares about IP protection. But this is exactly when things can go wrong, and when IP leaks. So if we look at our case study, Adam was deeply involved in Valeo in developing advanced parking systems. The project was critical to the company's success in the automotive industry. Now, did anyone make it clear to Adam that he's not supposed to use any of that information outside the company? Was Adam aware, or did he fully understand the responsibility on his shoulders? And when he left Valeo and he was already at NVIDIA, why did he have access to a document called Valeo Docs that was related to the company's sensitive, secret source code? Did he use his personal device for work? Did he upload sensitive information while at Valeo? Did he send it to his Gmail account? And regardless of the specific facts, the fact is that companies do not do enough to teach their employees how to behave on the day-to-day on the job. And if you think about it, the highest investment of technology companies is in R&D salaries. So much money is invested in R&D, and yet there is never enough IP protection or education to teach the developers how to handle IP on the day-to-day. So the lesson here is clear. It's your responsibility as an employer to proactively teach your employees how to handle IP assets. And for example, things that you could do. You could conduct regular training. You could invite the legal team to come in and talk about trade secrets. You could empower your employees, explain that they're actually creating IP assets, but at the same time, explain that they're also exposed and they may expose the company. You could use a system where the sensitive information and trade secrets are clearly marked so that they're treated differently than other types of information. And you could also control who has access to sensitive information. And I think, to summarize, you could be proactive in understanding who are the people who have access to your trade secrets and sensitive information, and maybe also make an effort to see who are the contributors and who are the ones who are very active with the most precious assets. So it's really about being proactive. And a great platform that you can use for protecting your IP is called Tangibly, and it offers wonderful tools to manage trade secrets, also from the information management aspect and also with the aspect of employee interaction. And it's a platform that we're using, we're seeing clients benefit from it, and it's very good to use such tools because it makes things easier to manage. So I'm not sponsored by them, although maybe they should sponsor me. But Tangibly is represented in Israel by Arad Ophir. For those of you in Israel who know Arad Ophir, the one and only, you're welcome to message me if you want more details about Tangibly. And also something that I've learned today is that there is a seminar taking place in Tel Aviv in November, hosted by Arad Ophir, so you could contact them directly to register, and I'm sure we'll post more stuff about that. So to summarize the second lesson, if you don't teach your employees how to properly handle IP, they will share it in the worst possible time. And they can, send themselves material just in the middle of an important due diligence. They can share stuff on LinkedIn because they want to do an effort to show what the company is doing. They can even discuss it with visitors who come or with investors who come who they think they should impress. So there are so many stories about people sharing stuff that they shouldn't have shared just because they didn't have clear guidelines on what they should share and what they shouldn't. And this leads us to the third lesson, which is how to properly offboard employees. So when your developer or data analyst informs you that they're moving on, you need to recognize that this decision it didn't happen overnight. Okay, they were planning for weeks, reviewing, sending information to themselves, or interviewing. They may have even used proprietary data or sent it to a potential employee. So what can you still do on that final day? The first thing and most important maybe is to conduct a thorough exit interview. And the purpose is to clearly communicate to the person leaving that what their responsibilities are and what the company's expectation of them is. And if we go back to Adam, did Adam get an exit interview before he joined NVIDIA? And I don't know the facts of the case, but a simple conversation with Adam might have uncovered any issues that were underlying. And so let's look at what you could do on your exit interview and on the days before the last day. You could sit down and talk to them about the importance of the specific materials that they were exposed to. You can remind them of their obligations. You can introduce a stop sign saying that, you know, we're expecting you not to disclose certain information that we marked as a trade secret, or we shared with you that you're not supposed to share. Now, I think the most important thing is that the departing employee should understand that they can feel at home and take whatever they want. And you could check with IT department any irregular activity leading to the day before they left and see if there's anything going on there. And some companies even reach out to the new employer to express concern. Though, you know, this should be considered carefully, but to summarize, the exit interview isn't just about a friendly goodbye. It's a critical moment where you set clear expectation, a red stop sign signaling the boundaries. And I think don't be afraid to have a difficult conversation. I feel with clients that this is an awkward moment, but at the end of the day, the employee is leaving. You're probably not going to be in touch with them. And it's really important to have this conversation. And one of the things that we notice is that when employees leave because they're frustrated, it's really bad news for your IP. And people don't make the connection between unhappy employees and IP leakage. And there are software tools that monitor and predict when an employee is planning on leaving. And it's really smart to have that from an IP lens. So definitely interesting to look at that. And because you can't really control resignation, but you can control how they feel. Just a sip. So key actions for your interviews: remind employees of exposure. Mention the sensitive IP assets that the employee was exposed to. Tell them what you expect of them and remind them of the stop sign. If you feel that you can't do it, talk to us and we'll help you. We can help you do it. And second, keep communications open. Encourage your employees to ask questions even after they leave the job. They probably won't call you up, but it's important to signal that you are there for any questions and that you care about your IP and what they do with it. We provide our clients with a detailed exit interview script. And if this resonates with you, you're welcome to message me on LinkedIn, and I'm happy to tell you how it looks like. Now, the protection of your IP is important on these three crossroads. So, and to summarize, these are the three lessons. Your IP protection begins when someone comes on board, a new employee. It continues ongoing in the ongoing activities of your employees, and you need the clear guidelines. And you need to do the third aspect, which is an effective exit interview. And if we bring it back and connect your IP protection to your fundraising and to your investors, then think about this. When discussing your company with investors, they might ask you, what do you do to protect your IP? And what do you do to prevent your IP from being copied? And what they want to see is you have clear guidelines in your company. We see it in due diligence conversations. They want to see that there's clear guidelines and the employees have a structure where they know what is expected of them. And by showing investors that you have these protections in place, you give them the right signal and you provide them with the assurance that their investment is secure. Thank you very much. And if anyone has questions, I'm happy to answer them. And if you have comments, then I'll probably answer comments after a little later on. Thank you very much.